Please pause and read the description box before viewing upload. Hello everybody. I hope everybody's having a good day today. On this upload, we're going to go out into some deep, spiritual, turbulent waters. But have no fear, Christ is with us. Over the years, I've discovered that not everyone is in tune with that small voice. There are those who haven't heard the voice of God, but they're seeking after it. And then there are those who reject the voice. They don't recognize it. The ones who don't recognize it become hostile towards those who speak from that small voice. So with that being said, everybody take a seat and let's set sail. I'm sure by now most of you have heard or read the story of Jesus sleeping during the storm in Mark chapter 4. Today I wish to present it to you in a way that I'm sure most of you have never heard it. I'm going to do so by breaking down key words in this story into the original Greek. In Mark 4, chapter 35, it reads, "And the same day, when the evening had come, he," meaning Jesus, "saith unto them, Let us pass over unto the other side." Remember, Jesus said his words are spirit. So let's look at these words as crossing over into the spiritual realm, the heavenly realm, your ascension. Now let's pay close attention to these next words. It says, "And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him, even as he was in the ship." Remember, ship means vessel. We are the vessels of God. It goes on to read, "And there arose a fierce gale of wind, and the waves were breaking over the boat." The Greek word used for wind in this particular passage means false doctrines, empty doctrines. It goes on to read that the waves were breaking over the boat so much that the boat, or remember vessel, was already filling up. The disciples were becoming filled with empty doctrine, and they became scared. It goes on to read that Jesus himself was in the stern asleep on a cushion, and they awoke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" Jesus was in the back of the ship, meaning he was not in the forefront of their minds. He was not their head. Jesus was laying on a pillow or cushion. The root word for pillow means Lord, cornerstone uniting two walls, or seizing the head. It's the cornerstone that unites the right and left hemisphere of the brain, connecting us to Christ, who is within. I pray that this is resonating with you, and you're starting to see it. It goes on to read, it says, "And he arose and rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm." Meaning, Christ arose in them, and they rebuked the false doctrines, and said to the sea, Peace, be still. And the false doctrines ceased, and there was a great calm. Meaning the peace that surpasses all understanding. Now let's take a look at Jesus' baptism in Matthew chapter 3, verse 16. It reads, "As soon as Jesus was baptized, he went up out of the water. At that moment, heaven was opened, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and lighting upon him." It reads, he went up out of the water. Went up in Greek means to go up, or ascend. Remember, the Spirit of God descended like a dove. Now I want to share with you the meaning of the Hebrew name Jonah, because it ties all of this together. Jonah means dove, as in the Holy Spirit. In Matthew chapter 12, Jesus heals a demon-possessed man who was blind and mute. The Pharisees blasphemed the Holy Spirit by saying it is only by Beelzebub, the prince of demons, that this fellow drives out demons. They didn't recognize the Spirit of God in Jesus and became hostile towards him. Later, these Pharisees asked Jesus to show them a sign. Jesus said, "A wicked and adulterous generation asks for a miraculous sign." He said, "But none will be given it except the sign of the prophet Jonah." Remember, Jonah means dove. Jesus was only going to give them a steady dose of the Holy Spirit, which he knew they wouldn't recognize. Jesus goes on to say, "For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of a huge fish, so the Son of Man will be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth." From Jesus' baptism till his death on the cross was 3 years. 3 years, 3 days. Jesus was in the lower realms. The Christ was in the lower realms, in the belly of the fish. Now that we're talking about Jonah, let's go to the story of Jonah in Genesis chapter 1, and we'll pick it up in verse 4. And now I'm going to need you to put on those spiritual eyes and ears. In this story, Jonah was running away from that small voice and not wanting to do what God wanted him to do. Jonah was on a ship, and the Lord hurled a great wind on the sea, and there was a great storm on the sea, so that the ship was about to break up. The Hebrew word used for wind in this passage means breath, wind, spirit, the Spirit of God. Now in this next verse, let's view these sailors as religious men with their cups full. It reads, "Then the sailors became afraid, and every man cried to his God. And they threw the cargo which was in the ship into the sea to lighten it for them. But Jonah had gone below into the hold of the ship, laid down, and fallen sound asleep." The Holy Spirit, the wind, was tearing down the walls of their religion, and they were very afraid. They were tossing out pieces of their religion, trying to save it. Jonah, or Christ, Christ within, had gone below into the hold of the ship, laid down, and fallen sound asleep. After Jonah, or Christ, had been rejected and tossed off the ship, the vessel, he was swallowed by a great fish. After 3 days, the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land. Dry land represents people who were needing spiritual waters. And Jonah went to those people and spoke those living waters to them, and they were saved. Those people responded positively to the voice of God. The fish is the new covenant bringing salvation to the lost. Now let's look at the name Noah, which means rest or to rest. In the story of Noah's flood, Noah sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters were abated from off the face of the ground. But the dove found no rest for the sole of her feet, and she returned unto him into the ark, for the waters were in the face of the whole earth. Then he put forth his hand, and took her, and pulled her in unto him into the ark. I could spend hours on these two verses alone, but I won't. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. There were religious spirited water all over the face of the whole earth. And the dove, the Jonah, the Holy Spirit, could not find dry ground, people needing spiritual waters. It could not find a place to rest to Noah. After 7 days, Noah sent out the dove again. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there was a freshly plucked olive leaf in its beak. Noah knew that the waters had receded from the earth. The olive leaf represents peace. Noah had sent out peace in the Holy Spirit, and his peace had returned to him. Noah waited 7 more days, and then he sent the dove out again, but this time it did not return to him. Noah's peace did not return to him. Now let's go to Luke chapter 10, where Jesus sends out the 72. When Jesus sends them out, he gives them specific orders to go by. Jesus said, "Whatever house you enter, first say, 'Peace be to this house.' If a son of peace is there, your peace will rest on him. But if not, it will return to you." I pray that this upload has enlightened you, and I pray that my peace will rest on you. I love you all. God bless.